Good day. Welcome to the THC show. I'm Neil Magnuson, your host. We are broadcasting live again from the Healing Wave Dispensary in downtown Vancouver. Today on the show, we'll have 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca. Jerry Martin will be here for the Martin Medical Moment. And Mary McCarty is going to be my guest today, and we're going to talk all sorts of things about what the Green Cross is doing these days in their attempt to come back and help people with medical access to cannabis. We're still in this same situation that we've been in for the last few weeks that we've been talking about on the show here. We are awaiting some sort of approval to be here. We need to have a piece of paper with a signature on it to be able to do what we're doing, apparently, although there has been no attempt to interfere with us doing what we're doing without that piece of paper with a signature on it. It's ludicrous that we need such a thing. It's ludicrous that they would consider that we should stop helping people until we have that. It's almost like they don't understand the situation that's going on here, or that they don't care. And I'm not sure which that is. But, you know, if they understood what was going on here, they certainly would never suggest that we stop for a moment, because that would put our members, some of them, in dire consequence. What we have going on here is the Cannabis Substitution Project, much like we were having going on at Vancouver for 3.5 years, except that it's changed quite nicely. It's evolved to where people don't just get a care pack that's handed to them with random, 3 or 4 or 5 edibles and things like that. They get to choose from a variety of different things that we have donated or purchased for the project here. It's now a program. And they get to choose 420 milligrams every 4 days. And many of the people in our program, we have over 200 people that we've registered. We also have a waiting list, which kind of breaks my heart, but we've got about 40 people or more now on a waiting list because we don't know how far we're going to be able to expand this. But many of the people that are part of our program report that they've been right off of street drugs since they started this program, and they just use the edibles that we give them to stay off of those street drugs. So that if we were to close our doors and not be available to people, we'd be literally turning those people back out onto the streets, into the poison drug supply, with no means to look after their needs. So that would be unconscionable. And if the governments actually understood, the power of what we're doing here for the people that we're doing it for, they would certainly, no conscious, ethical, thinking human being would ever tell us to stop doing that, especially just because we don't have the right piece of paper with a signature on it. They talk a lot about safe supply. You're hearing a lot about that these days. Because the whole poison drug supply, the whole overdose pandemic is all just a product of prohibition. It's going on here because the government has decided to protect the rights of certain drug suppliers, including themselves with reference to alcohol, and that they've attempted to eliminate and prohibit anything to do with cannabis or these other plant medicines. And that's what's driving all of this overdose pandemic. It's got everything to do with prohibition and very little to do with, just a poison drug supply. It wouldn't exist if there wasn't prohibition. Free adults need to get whatever it is they desire, as long as they're not hurting anybody else. And if they're told that they can't get it, that doesn't make them stop wanting to get it. That makes them want to get it more. In fact, the whole idea that you can't have it drives a lot of people to go and get it where they otherwise wouldn't even think about it. But the prohibition is extremely dangerous. The government has a role to play in helping us in our decisions, in educating us, in telling us the pitfalls about things. When there's problems that arise with certain substances and the way people are doing and using things, then the government has a role to play there in the form of regulations. And regulations take all sorts of different forms to accomplish their goals. But whenever those regulations get to the point where they now make it easier for people to go to an underground, unregulated marketplace, well, then the mandate of the regulators has been reached, and they need to back off those regulations, because that's the last thing, especially with dangerous substances, that should be happening, is that the government is forcing people to go to an unregulated supply of these dangerous substances. So they talk about safe supply now. Now they've got a solution for their poison drug supply that isn't just the ending of prohibition, because they're going to maintain the prohibition on the drugs the way people have been using them down here. And what they're going to implement is some sort of a safe supply system, which means that everybody here is going to be forced to transition off of what they've been using onto some pharmaceutical-based alternative. And once again, the pharmaceutical companies are going to make off like bandits and take a whole bunch of tax dollars to keep people on a maintenance-based opioid addiction that really they've been trying to beat. So the governments are talking about safe supply, and they're in bed with all these different pharmaceuticals, and they're going to, you know, force people to, like they've been trying to force people all along. I mean, it won't be any different. I mean, it's still going to be illegal for people to get the drugs where they've been getting them from to begin, and nothing's going to change like that. But for those people that want to transition over, they can go and use pharmaceutical drugs that the taxpayers are going to pay for that won't quite do for them what they want done for them, apparently. I'm not one of those people, but this is what's being reported to us, is that it's not the way they want to use them. It's not what they want to use, but that's what the government thinks they can do to solve this, is not end the prohibition on the other drugs that they want to take and find some sort of a regulatory scheme that would make sense and that wouldn't drive people to a black market. Instead, they want to continue to have that black market, continue to have all the enforcement dollars going to enforce that side of things, just like they're doing with cannabis, and then have this other alternative for people that profits the pharmaceutical companies. So not very much in favor of that. And mostly I'm not very much in favor of that because what they don't talk about when they're talking about safe supply is cannabis. Cannabis, especially in the form of edibles and concentrates, is the actual true safe supply. There are hundreds and hundreds, probably definitely thousands of people, maybe millions of people that have already transitioned off of those hard drugs using cannabis. I know so many of those people. It's in the hundreds of people that I know that report that cannabis saved their life. They're cannabis consumers now. They're happy. They're well adjusted. They're healthy. They're using cannabis edibles. They feel great. They're laughing through their days. They're having a wonderful time of it. And yet so many other people are struggling with opioid addiction for two reasons. One, because they don't know that cannabis high-dose edibles and concentrates can really supplant the use of what they're using, and they don't want to go through withdrawal. I guess that's a third reason. And the other reason is because it's not available to them. There's no place where they can go and access cannabis high-dose edibles and concentrates in any reasonable fashion. The government cannabis stores, they certainly don't have what people are going to need. They've got edibles that are capped at 5 milligrams. I think maybe they doubled it to 10 milligrams now, but that's still nothing. You've got to eat a whole bunch of chocolates to get that 150 milligrams that you require, or more than that for so many people who use far more than that every day. So thanks to the Alberta Queen's Bench Court in Alberta, where they ruled that people get to have high-dose edibles, that there should be no cap on how high those edibles can be, that people have a constitutional right. You can go out and buy a 40-pounder of whiskey or vodka and more than that if you want. You can buy a whole bunch of other harmful things. I don't think there's any limit on how much white refined sugar stuff you can have. There's a whole lot of dangerous stuff out there that doesn't have caps on it. And for them to be capping the one substance that really doesn't have an overdose level to it, I mean, nobody's ever died of cannabis. You can eat too much and not feel very good. That's true. But it won't kill you like these other things can kill you. And these other things are readily available in super large amounts without any worry by government that they need to protect people from them. I mean, the liquor stores are shoving out so much alcohol every day, and you don't hear the government, talking about, oh, we got to protect the children, we got to put limits on these things, we got to make it really tough for people to get alcohol like they do with cannabis. None of that stuff is happening with that. And could that be because the governments are actually the profiteers on alcohol? Could it be that it's our government that has taken over from the gangsters during alcohol prohibition, and now they're the ones that regulate alcohol? I think it could be. There's our 419 warning, so if you don't have them rolled, you got a minute. Otherwise, a minute from now, we're going to spark them up. But the whole point of this is that we're dealing with very corrupt governments. We're dealing with governments that have no problem lying to us and stealing from us and cheating us, and they're not working for us. They're working for the corporations, and that's been very clear for a long time. And there is no better example than the prohibition of cannabis that's just Ron. He's one of our alcoholic members here that comes here and uses cannabis to supplant the use of his alcohol. And isn't that wonderful? But we do supplant that too. But we need to have our governments recognizing and supporting the actual true safe supply, which is cannabis and which is low barrier access to cannabis. And that unfortunately doesn't go well with their plan to monopolize the sale of cannabis through their government stores and their licensed licensed producers who want to sell you cannabis at in excess of prohibition prices, and they're just not interested in $2.50 grams or $1 a gram is where it should be. And so that's what we're fighting right now. We're having the governments come in and figure out, what they're going to do. Are they going to license us? Are they going to let us do that? That's their dilemma. All right, that brings us to 420. 8 out of 10, Glenn.
Hey,
come on in, buddy. How are you doing?
good. Oh, you got air today.
We got a little bit of air conditioning.
Nice.
Well, it's just a fan.
Yeah, it's still air.
The show has a fan.
Two
Two of them. You guys, you at home and this guy here.
Now we got 3 fans. Any more fans in here? Whoever your fan, oh, we got more fans over there.
On a day like today, we need fans.
Yeah. Couldn't you get the joint lit?
420. Thank goodness for 420.
Yes. Oh,
so we had a nice time at the park.
Yeah, that was great. The BC Bud guys putting on the Dylan and
I don't think anybody put it on. People showed up. Yeah. There was certainly some talk amongst the cannabis people that good day to show up at the park.
Yeah, it was sunny.
But it wasn't really organized. We didn't have a sound system. There was no games that we played. There was no giveaways, raffles, or speeches even. But it was a really nice day in the park.
You sang.
I did sing "Oh Cannabis."
Yes, you did. And I think we have some tape of that.
Oh, don't play that now. I need that tape down there. I get no breaks on this show. I just have to sit here and go like this until sometime I get a break.
We should do that as an introduction to me. Every time it's 420, we do the Neil singing, and then I'll come on.
Glenn, you could definitely bring us some video.
Yes.
For every 420 session, a little video of something, and we'll put that on.
Sure.
That'd be good.
I think I'll do that.
It'll cut into your time, though.
Yeah, we're sure. I think I'm going to do that on my trip.
You're going away for a couple of weeks, in a couple of weeks. You're going away for 3 weeks.
Yep. So the first stop will be in Calgary at Beyond 420.
Fred Bell's place.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, and then
I want to know what Fred's doing there. I like Fred. Right. I bet you he's doing good things.
He's doing good, and there's also another place there in Credit Grove.
In Credit Grove?
Yeah, so he's going to check with Jeff to make sure, because he says the owner has a franchise of him as a front space of their store. So there's actually two things there. So he's going to make sure.
Well, I look forward to seeing how that's all working.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'll be there. I'm going to leave right after the 18th from here. I'll have my bags packed and everything.
Do you know, is it a legal store or illegal, or what are they doing there?
I do believe it's legal. I don't know where they are. It's in Airdrie. Is that on the reserve?
Oh, Airdrie.
Airdrie, yes.
Airdrie.
Yes.
I spent a very snowy night in Airdrie.
Did you?
Oh, man. Yeah, coming back from a Prairie Harvest Cup. We went a different way than normal, which brought us through Airdrie instead of through Calgary.
Yeah.
And all the people that tried to get back from the Cup going through Calgary and Banff, they got stopped on the highway. They had to spend the night in their cars or turn around and go back to Canmore and take motels and stuff. And we got onto a little caravan and we headed out from Airdrie. We went kind of the back route towards Banff. It was just single lane. Whenever there was a car coming the other way, everybody had to sprint over.
Oh no!
There was a bunch of cars that we were passing that were in the ditches on both sides.
Yeah.
But we made it. We made it through where so many others didn't. But yeah, I remember Airdrie. I remember waking up that morning.
This is the store, so they got some.
For you viewers at home, you can't see what we're doing there, but you can look up Beyond 420.
Beyond 420. There
and you can see what we're doing there.
So then we'll go do a video there, and one of them in Credit Grove, Jeff says okay, and we'll see what else.
I'm sure Jeff will say okay.
Yeah, I'll be in Ontario, so I can hit some Indigenous stores and stuff like that.
I'd like to know what they're doing. Maybe you can visit with Pat Warnke. He's
Pat.
I don't know what he's doing these days, but he does so many things.
Yeah,
get together with Pat and find out what he's doing, because that guy is he's a warrior.
I've got 2 chances to meet him, because I got going there and coming back. Right, so
cool.
I don't do it the first way, I can go back the second way.
Are you taking sectioning off a little bit of time, like you're not going to race back or race there?
Well, I might race back, but not race there, because of Doug and Michelle's re-wedding.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. Doug and Michelle Sikora are getting married again?
Yes, he asked her on their 10th anniversary to do it again.
I see. He wasn't happy with the first time?
I think he loves her so much he wants to do it again. I think that's more
probably more that's the reason.
Yes.
Although, I mean, I don't know how they got married the first time, but they could probably have a really nice wedding this time.
I believe it's September the 4th.
September the 4th. At 420.
Yes.
over in
the date
Gibson?
would be for 2020 too, right? So
I see.
yes, over in Gibson.
I see. Well, I hope I get to go to that.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
But maybe the invite will come in the mail.
You
know how that works. You got to get the invite.
Yeah,
You get an RSVP and stuff.
He says that they do have to keep it small because of COVID. Right? So, COVID. You know what? I've seen people walking down the street with their masks on, with nobody else there. I think Dr. Bonnie Henry needs to make a video that shows proper use. When you walk into a store, put a mask on. When you walk out, you don't need to be wearing it. When you're driving in your car, you don't need to be wearing one unless you have somebody who's outside of your bubble in your car, right?
Did you get the numbers today?
Today, no, but that's 4 days numbers. I can't look. 4 days, they're saying.
I want to see. What the COVID numbers in BC are.
Right,
I tried to listen, but my radio lost reception right when I was.
Right here.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
We don't need to both do it. BC COVID numbers.
There we go. 146 over 4 days.
Over 4 days.
Yes.
So that's under 40 a day, 30 something a day. Still more than what we like.
We know where you got them from.
All right. Hold on. Okay,
so I'm gonna get in trouble for this.
Yes.
But I don't think that under 40 cases a day is much to be concerned about.
Okay,
although I'd sure like it if it was 0.
43 cases from Friday to Saturday, 29 cases from Saturday to Sunday, 46 from Sunday to Monday, and 28.
We've been getting these updates for a very long time. It used to be daily, now it's 3 a week.
Yeah.
But what I want to see with this is I want to know where those outbreaks are.
Yes.
I want to know what the circumstances were because they do that immediately. When they got an outbreak, they start tracking immediately.
Yeah.
Why aren't they telling us that? Why aren't they telling us?
Wow.
Because
I know they were telling us Kelowna.
We have 5.5 million people here in British Columbia. We're the size of Western Europe. You've heard me say this a number of times. 40 cases is nothing. No. The pneumonia kills a lot of people. The flu kills a lot of people. So I get it. This is a very contagious thing. We need to keep it from our communities. We need to put it down if it's there. But I want to know where it is. I want to know where it is we have to be careful and where we don't need to be careful. Because people being careful isn't just as simple as what some of the pro-maskers think it is.
Yes.
They think it's just easy. I mean, you're being a fucking idiot and a criminal if you don't wear a mask. Well, it's not that simple.
No.
And if you don't need to wear one, you should be told.
That's why we need the videos to show us properly.
Exactly. Right? Proper protocols. Just,
oh my God, put a mask on because there is proper times to do this.
It doesn't hurt me that people are driving around by themselves in their cars with a mask on. Although it kind of triggers me a little bit when I see it.
Yeah.
But people jogging down the street, I've seen a guy on a skateboard all by himself, just zooming down the road with his mask on. And there is something to be said for fresh air, right? I mean, this virus is extremely small. It is extremely small. And if you're wearing like 2 or 3 layers of whatever to protect yourself from that, if you think your mask is going to protect you from the virus, it's also going to filter out a lot of the fresh air that we need to have.
Yeah.
And most of the viruses and things that are, and I mean viruses, most of the things that are alive, that are in our atmosphere, we need them.
Yeah.
We need other people's germs. We should not be walking around the city, not touching anything, not going anywhere near anybody, and not breathing anything.
I said that in the comment that we've been living with germs for centuries.
We need those germs.
Still here right now.
Our immune systems function properly because we get a little bits of other people's and other germs that are there. COVID is different. There's no question. COVID is a dangerous, potentially deadly virus. It needs to be put down wherever it shows up. I'm with the government. I'm happy that they did what they did, that we got it out of our communities in British Columbia. But, they need to be more forthcoming with information. They need to tell us where these outbreaks are, so especially for the people that are anywhere close to those outbreaks, so that they can be careful. That's when I would put my mask on. That's when I'd be careful about what I was touching and who I was supposed to.
Like, I'm even a little bit worried going to Ontario. I'm not going to go to
as you should be.
Or anything, but I can't wear a mask because of my PTSD, and I have a letter for that. I already called Ontario today. They said, don't worry about it. Said, people are not too bad. She said, you might get a little hassle about your out-of-town plates, but it said, it's essential travel. I have to be here.
I know.
Right? So, we'll see how it goes.
We will. I just don't like not being given all the information. And I don't like it when it looks like they're using a situation for their own advantage,
Yes.
to scare people into
that's what they're
control
doing, yeah.
and other things like
And
that.
then when you
So I would
see
just
somebody
like to be
running down the
more
street,
honest with this.
you in a mask, you think it's more normal. So now you start wearing a mask, right?
Well, you know, there's both sides of it. There's people that are shaming people with masks, and there's people with masks shaming people without
Well,
masks.
I don't shame anybody with masks.
I don't know.
I don't know what their situation is.
Yeah,
I saw a
exactly.
guy with a California place today. I pulled up on him. Have you been getting hassled because your place goes, no, not too bad. Yeah, he says, in Mission, anyways.
Depends where you go.
Yeah.
Smaller
we were in
communities
Mission,
and places like that. And none of that should happen. You really don't know the circumstances, and you shouldn't jump to conclusions,
mask,
you know.
Right?
And you
don't know why that person's not wearing one, and you don't know why they might be wearing one.
That's right.
And the government is working on that part and splitting us up. Right?
Yeah,
They lied to us about cannabis. They told it was crap. It was a gateway drug. It's going to make you die. It's going to make you rob banks and everything.
You can't trust your government, folks, if you haven't figured that out yet. On my memory today, well, I went to a Liberal barbecue a few years ago, before Justin became Prime Minister, the first time. And I tracked him down, and him and I had a one-to-one personal little conversation there. I said to him, if you will respect individual sovereignty, you'll be the greatest statesman that ever lived.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity here, you know, and the cannabis file is the big one.
Yeah.
And he looked me straight in the eye and promised me that he would.
It's like his dad was.
So I shook his hand and I thanked him and I said, I'm going to vote for you. I'm going to work for you. And then we did do that.
Yeah.
How stupid was I? I admit it. You don't have to, you know, tell me in the text. I was being very naive. I'd even been an activist for a while. I can't explain it. I don't get it.
But you weren't the only one.
Oh, I know, but still. I wanted to believe
Jody
it.
Emery was the Liberal too for a while, didn't she?
Until they wouldn't let her run anymore.
Yes,
hey,
I
this
know.
is something potent going on.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Oh, man, I'm keeping my... Oh, my God, here. But, yeah, you know, I mean, I was very naive. Hey, Joe Pepper's in the house.
Yes. Yeah.
Joe Pepper's in the house.
She's a nice lady.
Very nice lady. One of these days I'll have her on the program.
Oh, that'd be good.
For those who don't know, she's one of the board members of the Serious Hope Society, volunteer here at the Healing Wave Cannabis Substitution Program, and such an activist too. Such a quiet person.
She's a very quiet person.
Doesn't want to come on the show.
Don't go away with that now. You gotta come back here.
I have her standing next to Jen all the time.
Yes.
Because they balance each other out. And in life, you need a good balance, right?
Yeah, so if you guys got a shop that you'd like me to stop in along the way, I would be willing to do that. Just reach out to me and let me know. Time willing. Yeah, you have to be along the number one, please. Yeah. I'm not going to go way up north or something. I learned that on my trips, boy. You only have so much time. And you know, some of these places, they think they're not too far off the number one, but by the time you get there, and oh my God. Yeah, I learned that the first time when I went with Isabel, so that's why I'm saying it now, right? Yeah. And being on the road for sure. Like ARD is not so bad. So we're going a little bit into Jerry's time today because Jerry's stuck in traffic, but he's coming. So oh yeah, all right. Yeah, that's all good. Well, we can do. We'll just keep here. It's a tough thing. Do a traffic report for us. Oh, I don't. I don't know if he's stuck in traffic. He said he might be a little bit late. I was just making that up. Report, yes. But he might be stuck in traffic because things are kind of back to normal here in BC. You know, there's rush hour out there. Oh yeah, yeah. And speaking of Jerry, there he is. So traffic, let him go. We're gonna call you for a traffic update. Yeah. Park here. All right. All right. So this brings us to the Martin Medical Moment, and this is the segment of the show where we talk about the battle for legal access to reasonable access to cannabis for medical purposes. Come on and have a seat, Jerry. Jerry Martin. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Jerry, but for those who don't know, Jerry was a medical cannabis dispensary owner in Whitewood, Saskatchewan. He started that about 7 years ago, and he ran it for 4 years. And then, you know, they sent him a letter saying he had to cease and desist what he was doing when legalization was happening, and he didn't do that. And we've covered that on the show before, just how impossible that would be to do. When you've got 1,000 members of your medical cannabis dispensary, people who, as we find out here at our dispensary, are so grateful for what we're doing and want to tell us about how it's helping them in so many profound ways. But if you had to close down
and then turn away people as they come to your door and explain to them that, well, you know, your public servants in Ottawa have decided that I can't help you get cannabis here today, so you're just going to have to suffer. Or, you know, there's a crack house down the street, you know, maybe you could go there. You know, it's just an absolute impossible thing to ask a medical cannabis dispensary owner to do. You cannot ask that person to close his doors and stop helping the people that he has learned that are counting on him. So Jerry didn't close. And the RCMP showed up one day and put him in handcuffs and put him in the back of his car and stole all of his stuff, his house, his cars, his money, and have called him a criminal ever since. And for 3.5 years, he's been fighting the corrupt system to get his day in court, to prove that there was no victim in anything that he ever did, and that he helped a lot of people, and that they should pay him compensation for all the things they stole. He's still waiting for his day in court, and it's been quite the roller coaster ride. And that's enough of an introduction, but I always want to do that for people that are new to the show and want to understand what we're talking about here. This is what we're talking about. The government spent our tax dollars, wasted our tax dollars, closing down medical cannabis dispensaries to support their non-medical government cannabis store monopoly. And many people have suffered with that. And you're testimony to that, sir.
It'll be 4 years next month, actually.
4 years next month since they shut you down?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on 8 years that this whole journey of yours has been going on.
Pretty much, yeah.
You spent 4 years a pretty happy guy, right?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty loving what you were doing. People were all loving what you were doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Give some meaning in life, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then another almost 4 years of pretty much the total opposite. You know? They stopped you from helping people.
Yeah.
They've labeled you as some sort of a nasty criminal of some sort that they think it's worth spending tax dollars on to go and persecute, and yet they won't give you a day in court.
Sure, that ashtray.
Sure, I share an ashtray. Sharing is caring. What do you got there? Guys with your
it's like a
dangerous
it's
cigars.
Like a mix of everything.
I have a show on Pot TV, but I'm a bit of a lightweight when it comes to smoking weed. It takes me a while to get through just half of
Mostly
it.
Moby Dick, I believe.
Oh, okay. Moby Dick's good. We have that here.
Yeah.
You like our little dispensary?
Yeah, it's great, man. I'm glad I finally have it. For years.
Yeah,
For years, even.
I promised it for so long.
I remember asking you years ago, why don't you have your own place? Well, it's just not the right time.
Just not the right time.
Yeah.
It was never the right time until about a year ago. And a year ago, it became the right time because we'd been doing the Cannabis Substitution Program at Vandu, and the city passed that motion saying that they would support low barrier access to cannabinoids. And at that moment, at that very moment, when they passed that, I came away from that council meeting where that was passed. I was so upset. I had a lot I wanted to say to them, you know. They were going to debate this motion. Should they allow low barrier access to cannabinoids to combat the overdose opioid crisis? And boy, I had what I wanted to say, you know. And they cut it down to 3 minutes from 5. And 5 isn't enough, right? So I was trying to condense everything I wanted to say in there. And then I begged the counselors to ask me questions.
I watched you read that off. It was pretty good.
It was okay. I did what I could in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to ask me questions. And I asked them, please ask me questions so that, you know, I can say more about why this is so important. And they didn't ask me a lot of questions, so I had to go sit down. And I remember being really upset and kind of feeling, oh my God, this isn't good. But then the vote came in, and they unanimously voted in favor. And it took me a couple minutes to let that sink in.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, it didn't matter that I didn't get to say all that I wanted to say. It didn't matter that they didn't ask me questions. They passed this. And so, yeah, from that moment on, I knew this is now the right time to do this. But it took us a full year.
Yeah, it was hard to find a place, and money, and all those things.
Yeah, you know, I had resources available to rent a place if we could have found a place to rent. You know, I had a partner that wanted to do the same thing. In fact, my partner in business here had wanted for the 2 years leading up to that moment to open a place. And I'd been telling him, not the right time, not the right time. And
I know he asked me a lot too.
Yeah, we worked on it. We tried to figure out what can we do, how can we do this, and nothing was just the right time. But then they passed that motion. I said, Sal, now it's the right time.
Yeah.
And so we spent a year trying to find a place. We came close with a couple other places, and in hindsight, really glad we didn't get them. It's hard, you know, the landlords, they don't want to touch cannabis. If you're going to sell cannabis and you're not a legal government store, then they're afraid they're going to take their property away.
Yeah, we can't blame them.
I can't blame them. The government's threatening them.
Yeah.
You know, you're a business person. You've got a place to rent. You're not going to go against what the government's saying you shouldn't do.
Not if you're gonna lose your stuff.
Not if you're going to lose your stuff.
Unless you're me.
Yeah, but it wasn't simple like that for you. It wasn't simple at all like that.
No,
You were so well entrenched.
Yeah.
You know, by the time they said stop doing this, that you know, you couldn't quit. But in these cases, they don't want to start. The landlord doesn't want to start. And we would even explain to them, you know, we're not a regular dispensary. We're not not there for profit over the people. We're there to try to just help people get off of opioids. No. And then a couple of yeses and then no. And then we ended up with this one, which is really good. But we're still in limbo. We still got, you know, the last correspondence from the city licensing department is that it doesn't matter, that we're going to go through the federal licensing attempt with an exemption, I believe a section 140 exemption. John Conroy's working on that. The Mark McClellan from the city licensing department sent me an email saying that doesn't matter. You still have to close your doors until you get the license. And then he went away for a few days, and we've had other correspondence with other powerful people, and I've heard nothing from him since. So his deadline of when we had to close has come and gone now 2 weeks ago, I guess. And there's been no, I guess 1 week ago, and no more correspondence. So we're crossing our fingers. You know, we wouldn't pay the fine. It's not that. We would fight that every inch of the way. It's our landlord. You know, the landlord was also threatened. He made us sign an acknowledgement that we received a letter from his lawyers saying that unless things change, which means that they get confirmation from the city that they're not going to be moved against, that we're supposed to leave at the end of August here.
Wow,
so we're working really hard to get some sort of a, you know, Rebecca Bly, the councillor that put the motion forward, she called me the other day. We had a really nice chat. She is so happy that we're here and that we've done this. She said, you know, you're the only ones that have responded to that motion. And when she put the motion forward, it was emotional for her. She understood the value of cannabis helping in this neighborhood and what we were doing. And she wanted to pave the way for us to be able to do it in a storefront situation and in a better situation, not just giving away the limited amount that we're able to, but also having it available to people to purchase with a low barrier cost point and all the rest of it. So she was really, her mother's a medical cannabis user. She understood the lack of availability and access that was happening with legalization. She wanted to have what we're doing happen.
Yeah, now more than ever, they're all going out of business from their greed, right?
More layoffs. Canopy Growth has laid off a bunch more people.
Oh,
yep, the LPs aren't doing well, and neither, you know, nor should they. Although it's hard to not do well when you're selling weed in any form.
Yeah,
but
I've never figured that out.
Well,
CEOs do well.
Yeah.
They're not.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's the investor and
the employees that thought they had a good job are getting laid off.
Yeah.
The investors that thought they had something that was going to build equity, they're losing.
And they pay so
time.
little.
But all that money that those investors put in there, that all went into whatever it is that they did. You know, paying salaries and building buildings and lots of things.
Yeah.
So,
artificially inflating their value is what they're doing. So
and I'm sure. I mean, I don't want to bash anybody, but I'm sure those people that have those companies, they're living the life.
What's that drug company that had all those drugs down in the States, and then they just like massively increased the price of all the drugs? Remember that?
Yeah.
And now their stock value is zero. All right, they lost everything over that. But that's what they did. They went around and bought all the companies, and then they controlled everything, and then they skyrocketed the price.
And I'll just bet that the guys on top never hurt.
Oh yeah.
Their company might be worth zero on the stock market. All those people that bought those shares, you know, they're out money.
Yeah, well, the stock market.
But I just think the guys that run the companies, they're not hurting.
Stocks are designed for the people that put the stocks online. They're safe.
Yeah.
They're not losing any money.
I know.
Right?
They probably didn't even buy their own stocks.
Well, it cost $500,000 to get listed on the TSX, because I've just been recently looking at that for our new company.
I see.
Yeah.
Gotta have money to make money, I guess.
Yeah. I found a good loophole.
Yeah?
Yeah. I had a really good meeting with Dr. Ira Price yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, do you know who he is?
I know the name. And
he's the
some
one
of the
that had 9 years in court over his medical license, and he's the one that sued for OHIP coverage and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of that's coming back to me. I mean, he was in the his name was around for quite a while, for sure. There was a lot So what do you have to say?
I can't tell you.
Huh? for a future episode, for sure.
But it's going good. It's very expensive. It's We found a loophole. It's like $300,000 loophole, but we can do we're going to do a study. That much we can talk about.
I'm not against people making money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the people that have cannabis companies and they wanted to get rich off it. I mean, that's fine. If you want to get rich, it's a fine thing to want to do. I'm glad we live in a world where you can do that. I hope people do it the right way. And having a cannabis company could be the right way, but I don't think keeping post-prohibition prices in place is a good way to do it.
And asking the government to enforce laws to get rid of their competition.
Exactly.
I mean, sell a good product at a good price.
Exactly. Let the marketplace decide.
Yeah, man.
I saw that there's some Saudi billionaire that's kind of getting in behind these companies now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, moving into...
well, I've got to get his number.
Yeah. Maybe he'll help us here. Think he'll help us sell $2 grams here? That'd be nice, because we don't have any investors here. We don't have any... nothing. It was just my business partner and myself with the limited resources that we had. We had enough to rent a place and get enough to start going. And that's what we did. And we're hoping we can build it into an empire down the road. I hope that we can control our own production, because that's a powerful, important thing to be able to do. Because
they allow you in the States.
Well, you should be able to do that, because strain selection, right? Like, what works for somebody? Can we get that again? What's our supply chain on that? If we're doing that ourselves, and we know that certain strains are helping people in better ways, and keep the cost down. You know, once we can control our own production, and we think we can grow 4 plants for every member. That's what we think we can do there. And John Conroy's working on that. You know, as a society, you know, those people that don't have a place that they can grow, that are homeless or in poverty, they need to have 4 plants more than anybody.
That's where Colorado is the same way. You can grow so many per patient you have.
Which is dumb too.
Well, they don't have a limit.
Well, not having a limit, that's good. That's what I'm talking about. Having a limit.
Well, they don't have a limit of the number of patients you can grow.
Oh, okay. But they have a limit of how many plants.
Here. Now you can only grow for like 2 people or something.
Yeah, think about that. You know, a limit. Your public servants are putting a limit on how many of a particular plant that you can grow. They're putting a limit on how many plants that you can grow. Why would they do that? What would be the reason for doing that?
You can't grow enough. You got to buy their shit.
I mean, is this a plant that is only select people know how to grow it? And I don't know. I can't even wrap my brain around. But the only thing that would make sense of a public servant telling the master that there's a limit on how many of a particular plant you could grow is to protect the other people's ability to grow that plant. That if you're growing, somebody else can't grow for some reason because there's only a limited amount of seeds or something, and you can't clone them. See what I mean? You can't wrap your head around it because it ain't true. Anybody can grow as much as they want of the most valuable plant on the world and in the world, and what public servant would ever tell you you can't grow as many of a fucking valuable plant as you want? You got a yard. You can grow grass, you can grow tomatoes, you can grow cherry trees, you can grow anything you want. Why the hell would your public servant tell you you can't grow what you think is the best plant on the planet? What's going on here? Do people not get the corruption that's going on here?
Well, it just drives me nuts. You can't grow in your yard here anyways because someone will see it, and that's against the law.
There again, for what good reason would that be against the law? You know, can't see the plant. I mean, is that because somebody's going to realize that's a really valuable plant and then steal your valuable plant? So your public servant is just doing you a favor by telling you, hey, don't put the plant out where people can see it because they'll steal it. Is that what's going on? I don't think that's what's going on. I don't think that's what they're worried about. I think they're worried about that they want to sell you that plant. They don't want anybody to know that you can grow that plant. They don't want anybody to know that you can grow it and then you don't have to buy it from them, and you don't have to buy pharmaceuticals in many cases, and you wouldn't want to buy much alcohol anymore, and maybe you're going to give away your cigarettes and stop smoking them too, and they're going to lose tax dollars on that, and maybe you're going to smoke some weed and think about things, because that's what weed really does for you. You know what I mean? You watch the 420 session, any 420 session, you watch what happens when people light up a joint or take a hit of cannabis. They start thinking about shit. They start talking about stuff. They get lively about things. They get engaged in things. And that's what your government doesn't want. They want you dumb. They want you going tired as you are to the bar to get some alcohol, to dumb your brain down so that you don't think about just how fucking corrupt it is. Yeah, it's just... You know, it drives me nuts that we have to try to wake people up to this because our governments are totally corrupt. We cannot trust them for a minute. We should write that into some stone in the middle of the plaza and everybody should read it forever. Don't ever trust your government. They will lie to you. They will cheat and steal from you. They don't care about you. And here is the best example. You here and this place is the best example of why our governments are corrupt. Because you're facing a barrage of fucking prosecutors and jail time and stealing your shit and our tax dollars paying for it all when you did nothing that any Canadian would ever want you fucking harmed for. And you did a whole bunch of stuff that I know millions of Canadians would love to have you over to dinner, pat you on the back, say, thank you, sir, you know? And yet our government thinks it's okay to go after you with our money, and not just you, but everybody else and all the rest of us that feel we're oppressed by these stupid laws. And how many plants are we allowed to grow? You know, how many people can we help? How low can our prices be? Oh, you got to cap this. You can't do that. Close your doors. You don't have a signature on a piece of paper. This is so bloody wrong. This is corruption at the highest level. And we need to do something about it. We need to stop this somehow. So yeah, don't just, you know, live a mundane life of enjoying the flowers and do that. But, you know, at the same time, have that balance of realizing that we're in a fucked up world and we need to unfuck this world. That we need to get these people out of power. That we need limited, accountable, transparent public servants who recognize their goal and their job is to protect each and every one of us individuals, not the groups other than children, and that's their job in life. And anything that isn't that should not be happening. And this is so much not that. Close your doors. Stop giving people weed to help them get off of their fucking poisonous drug supply because you don't have our permission from public servants. Do you get how corrupt this is? I'll tell you, you know, I want it to end. I've been now in limbo for 3 weeks here since the government, this local government, sent me a letter saying close the doors, cease and desist. And I've been in limbo ever since. Like you're in limbo with what you're doing.
Yeah, it sucks living that way.
It sucks living this way. You know?
They're coming in.
They brought me to tears several times in the last 3 weeks dealing with all of this. They forced me to do a whole bunch of stuff that I would rather be here helping people than doing.
For 4 years when my doors open, man. I never knew what day they were coming.
I haven't heard anything yet. Yeah. I'm hoping to hear something positive soon.
Say, at least
but you know,
you're in a good place, man.
I think they can.
Happens, you're in a good place to have it happen to you. Vancouver's gonna give you a fine and take your shit, right?
Yeah, well then Vancouver, if that's who they are, that takes our stuff and gives us fines, they're going to get a whole bunch of stuff from me.
Yeah, well,
because the media is just waiting for this, right?
Well, they know they are.
I've got one of the mainstream media people in Vancouver who wants me to let them in on what's going on here while she can watch the show. But I'm not going to go on the show and complain about government. Do what? Chill out, chill out, slow down. But you know, if they do that, if they come here and steal the stuff that belongs to the people out there and stop us from doing this, I'll tell you, I'll have a whole new job to do. You know, I'll wake up in the morning with motivation to do a whole bunch of different things than what I've been doing here. You know, we'll be going to all the media and we'll be explaining to them what the government is doing and do they or don't they want to help with this pandemic, right? They want to help with the other COVID pandemic. Boy, do they want to help with that. They want to help so much that they're going to intrude on every business and make sure you put up plexiglass and wear masks and all the rest of it. They're there every day telling you about it. I want to see them every day telling us about the other pandemic, the one that's killing way more people in British Columbia than that one.
All the poor people are now out of business. All the rich people, now they control all the business. Right?
They do.
Yeah.
The statistics that we're hearing on the small businesses that are not going to be able to reopen.
It was 13,000 just in Vancouver. That was a few months ago. I don't know about now. Probably way more now.
You go into in restaurants and you see that there's just a few people seated spaced apart from each other. I know. We're moving into a very different world coming up here, and it's going to be more difficult for people just to be passengers. We need a whole bunch of people to be crew to help us do what we're doing, to volunteer, to just put a little wrench in the gears of these corrupt bastards, because it's hurting your friends and my friends, and you know, our brothers and sisters and sons and daughters everywhere are victims of what our governments are doing here.
Yeah, letting them control you is just the wrong thing to do. And you know, people, they're sheeple. Or, you know, they just don't want to wreck the status quo. They don't want to get in trouble. They want to be good citizens, and that's a good thing. But when certain laws are ridiculous, you got
to be a free thinker.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we're all taught to obey.
Yeah, freedom of thought.
I mean, that's bashed into us in several different ways, you know, depending on who your parents were.
Yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about freedom of thought here soon.
Probably are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk these days about how they're able to monitor your thoughts coming up.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
That's important to know.
So freedom of thought and thought monitoring, how did that go well? How does that go together? We are moving into strange and dangerous times.
Maybe our angle with my psychedelic skills. Yeah, it's freedom of thought. There's never been a freedom of thought case in Canada. Ever.
No?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't really saying that on all the other shows.
Interesting.
But that's
an interesting slant on the whole idea of freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, you're controlling your thoughts.
There's a lot of attempts.
Yeah.
When I just quickly think about it,
there is a freedom of thought
to control our thoughts.
But no, everybody uses freedom of religion or these different ones. Nobody's ever done that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. We look forward to see what's going on with that. And I guess that's kind of our segment here. I went a little bit past.
Yeah.
But always fun, Jerry. Two emotional guys getting together. You get me going, I'll tell you.
That's good watching you.
That's good. That's good. You are not alone, my friend. You are not alone. You know, your roller coaster of emotions is shared by a lot of people. They're not just watching you; they're sharing it. All right, and we continue the saga of what happens when the government decides to control your thoughts and your access to medical cannabis. So coming up on the show, we have Mary McCarty. Mary is a wonderful activist from New Brunswick, came here several months ago, made the long trip to Vancouver, and I think she's having the time of her life here because I think it's a little bit different here in Vancouver than it was in New Brunswick. Don't know that, we'll have to get her to tell us that. But she's been doing a lot of good things here, helping out the Cannabis Substitution Project and working with the Green Cross. And without any further ado, I'd like to bring her on to the show and let her tell you what she's all about and what she's been doing and what she sees for the future. So, Mary, are you in the house? Come on in. Welcome.
Thank you.
Officially welcome to Vancouver, actually. And you kind of snuck in here several months ago.
I did.
And ever since, you've been not hiding under a rock. You've been doing all kinds of good things. So you're from New Brunswick?
No, I'm from Ontario.
You're originally from Ontario?
From Ontario.
That's where I want to start. So you were born in Ontario?
Yeah, born and raised.
Born and raised. So whereabouts in Ontario were you raised?
London, Ontario.
London, Ontario. Mom and dad, brothers and sisters?
Oh, yeah, lots of family.
Lots of family.
But anyways, I sold my house because I believe in this plant so much.
Well, you're skipping way ahead here.
Oh, okay. Well.
I'm not ready for that yet. You're not getting out of here that easy. You're not sneaking into Vancouver and just doing all this stuff without us getting to figure out exactly who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. So you went to school in London, Ontario?
Yeah.
High school, smoke weed?
Yeah.
Yeah? Other drugs, other things? I don't know why I always go there first. But,
I've done other drugs when I was younger.
Right.
When I was younger.
And your parents, were they religious? Were they mainstream? Were they weed smokers?
No, they weren't weed smokers. They were religious.
Okay, so they didn't look kindly on your use of drugs and other things growing up and in high school?
Oh, when I got older, it was different. I left home and...
When did you leave home?
When I was 16.
16, so that's pretty early. Did you just stay in London?
Yep.
For a while?
For a while.
And then eventually, what did you do there in London? For
hairstylist.
Hairstylist. Okay, cool. How did you go from London, Ontario to New Brunswick?
I was out here in BC 25 years ago.
Oh.
I was out here for 2 years.
I see.
And then I ended up going back to London, Ontario.
Okay. And then?
Raised my children.
In London, Ontario?
In London, Ontario. Did what I had to do.
Okay, so you weren't in New Brunswick for that long then?
No, I was only there for about a year.
I see. And you bought a house there?
No.
No? Oh, so when you say you sold your house, that was a house that you had in London?
In Ontario.
I see. Okay. So you were in New Brunswick for
I bought the
a
house
year,
as an investment.
and that was all you needed to be able to say, hell, I'm getting to Vancouver. Because I've been to New Brunswick, and no offense to New Brunswick, but it's not Vancouver.
No,
it's not BC.
They have the same problems there as you do here in East Side Vancouver. It's
Sure
just
they do.
not as bad.
Yes, they
You
have
know what
that
I mean?
going on there.
It's everywhere. Everywhere.
St. John's, you know, we saw
everywhere.
some, yeah.
Everywhere.
I mean, it's a nice place. I like the people a lot,
Yeah.
for sure.
I met a lot of good people there.
There's a lot of good
For
people
sure.
there. There's just so much going on in BC, that's all. And being from here, you know, it was a bit of a culture shock. You know, I drove, it seemed like forever in New Brunswick, down these highways where all there was trees. Small little hills and trees.
Not mountains like here.
Both sides of the road as far as you can see. And every time you'd go up one little hill, you'd get to see that it's for as far as you can see in all directions.
Yeah, for sure.
Just trees.
I promised myself I'd be back here to BC 25 years ago.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I love it. I don't regret it at all.
Oh, yeah.
And you know
It's a
what,
good
Neil,
place.
I have so much respect for you for what you do for CSP and for the people down
Well,
here.
thank you.
My nephew lived down here.
I see.
And
So you've got some personal motivation for why you wanted to help
personal.
us.
Yes, yes.
So many people that help us have that personal motivation as well.
Yeah.
And me, I don't. I mean,
He died in Winnipeg in a back alley doing his last hit.
oh, I'm so
He didn't
sorry.
make it back to BC.
Right.
You know?
So Winnipeg obviously needs a low barrier medical cannabis dispensary like
Across
every
the world.
other place in Canada.
All over the world.
All over the world. This is what the world has needed for a very long time. And this is what the world has been denied for a very long time.
I didn't realize the medical value of cannabis until I was older.
Right?
I smoked it my whole life when I was younger, right up to still, but I didn't know the medical value
Right.
until I did get sick. And my nephew handed me the book Jack Hare and said, "Here, read this."
Oh, so you read the same book I read.
Yeah.
That's what did it for
and
me
my
too.
eyes opened up and I went, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. I remember when I went to a rally and somebody said something about their medicine. So this is back in about 2004. So in 2003 or 2004, at a protest against the justice minister that was here at the Western Bayshore Hotel, somebody made the reference to their medicine. And it just made me stop. I mean, I'd never thought of it. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, I never thought of it that
But
way
that
either.
sent me on quite the journey. It was within the year that I read Jack Hare's book, and I read all about some of the medical value of cannabis. And then, of course, you know, some of the rest. Hey, I lost my journal.
Yeah, it flew over there.
Did it?
Yeah.
You know your roach is done when the
When
wind
it flies.
blows it out of your roach holder. Hey, and this is, for anybody who doesn't know, this is a mustache toker from Gibson Glass. You can order them from Gibson's Glass. I love them. I've been using them for a very long time. And Gibby, if you're watching, we have that clip of you, or of me handing this to Tommy Chong and him smoking out of your tokers. So I'll have to get that to you shortly. I know what I forgot to mention right off the top, and that is that we're back to being banned on YouTube for doing live stream broadcasts because of some mention of something in some other show that Pot TV put on a while ago.
Oh, wow.
So we just had a week of being able to live stream, and now we're back to however long this ban lasts.
Yeah, for how long they'll let us.
And,
they like to shut us up. They don't want people to know. I wish everybody that watches this show would share it and share it and share it with their family.
That is
their
what we can
friends,
do.
Their family and friends share it with their family and friends. Everybody has different friends. You know, education.
That's the power that we
important.
have right now
So
is the
important.
internet.
Yeah.
Is that we still can connect to each other through the internet, and we have some amount of time to get things, you know, shared before they take them down or stop you from doing that. Also, with our last show, they decided that you had to be 19 or over to watch the last show where I had Jody Emery as a guest. I don't know what Jody had to say that would have resulted in that. I thought she said a whole lot of wonderful things. I might have sworn once or twice, because I do that once in a while.
Yeah, you too.
Annie Barbie, if you're still watching the show, I'm very sorry about that, but I'm passionate about these things. And there's a time and a place to express yourself, and that's you know, that's what we do. This is a show about expressing yourself and telling the truth. And I wouldn't be being truthful to myself and who I am if I didn't express myself pretty much in the way that I do. So
You know, you think BC would set an example for the
We
rest
are.
of the Canada. No, quit fighting you. Quit throwing letters at you.
Oh, you mean the one guy in the licensing branch? I
All of
want to
them,
say,
even the politicians
well, no,
that
Mary.
run BC.
Well, sure, they should.
You know, our premier, all that should be
Yeah.
standing up and saying, you know what? These guys should be allowed a grant. So
John
that
Horgan-
grandmother like me makes the edibles for you guys to give away.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's what we're looking for. That's what we're pushing for. I mean, I want to say, to be fair, but I have to temper it a little bit, because you're right. But John Horgan's office was very supportive when I called there a couple of weeks ago and expressed my concern about what might happen here with our program. They were extremely supportive. I didn't talk to John in person.
Well, then they should get on
They
the
called
phone
me
and
the next
do what they
day,
need to do.
and I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, maybe they're calling Mark McClellan licensing at City Hall, and maybe that's why he hasn't given me any more threats. But yeah, his office was very supportive. But, you know, and I want to temper it, because, you know, John, a couple of things with John. I met John before he was premier here. You know what I talked to him about, of course. And he told me that he was going to champion the charge. He was going to lead the charge for medical access to cannabis. And he certainly has done no such thing. He just got up and made a speech within the last few days, just before the weekend here, talking about safe supply. Never mentioned harm reduction once. Never mentioned cannabis once.
Yeah.
So, you know, are they friends of ours or aren't they? We're going to find out. We're going to find out coming right up here. And hopefully they are. I really want them all to be supportive.
It's too bad you couldn't go to one of their meetings, you know?
Yeah, they're not even where they are normally. Like, normally I could go to City Hall. I could talk to Mark McClellan myself personally, face to face, instead of just, we talked on the phone a couple times.
They do it video link.
It's
now.
COVID, yeah.
Yeah,
because
they
of
do
COVID.
a video link so they can
Thanks, Jerry.
mute you and not hear what you're saying.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Oh, we don't want to hear any more from her.
Yeah, you can't see his finger on the button.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
think you're
yeah.
talking to him.
Yeah.
But
And you're going on and on and on, and they didn't hear a word.
no,
you
very
said.
convenient that at this point
it's
we can't get a
too
hold of these
convenient.
people.
That's wrong.
It is. Oh, so much wrong in our world, eh, Mary?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so you decided to come to Vancouver.
Yeah, and I enjoy baking for the people down here. It breaks my heart.
I enjoy having you bake. You got some beautiful tarts you brought here today as well, and I got these great chocolate chip cookies. I don't eat edibles myself except when they're not infused, and she makes some non-infused ones for me, and I have to share them with Paul.
Yep.
But that's fine. And I have my supply. It's the only sugar thing I'm eating these days, other than the fruit juice that I'm drinking. I've kind of weaned myself off. I don't really like the idea of other sugar things now except your cookies.
Yeah,
So.
I might make some bars, like some healthy bars.
Healthy bars. I look forward to a whole bunch of things in the future here with that. But once you came to Vancouver and you hooked up with Paul Hunt, that's what I said. I got to share him with Paul. And Paul, one of the directors of the Green Cross, you've been working very closely with them since you came here. And the Green Cross was up for a provincial license.
Yeah.
Were they approved for that provincial license?
No, they weren't. But they're looking for a new location.
So that was you thought because you had a Board of Variance hearing though, didn't you?
Yeah, they did, and I really don't want to mention a lot about it because I don't want to say something wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, but
do you even
mention that we're looking for Green Cross Therapeutics. We're gonna open up down here to help out with the.
I'm glad you can mention that because you are wanting to continue to help the people that the Green Cross have been helping.
It's completely separate from Green Cross Society.
Right.
It's going to be the same as this. Low barrier access for the people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know, the same core people involved, the same concept of getting medicine to people, but responding to the city's motion, and also in a partnership with the Cannabis Substitution Program.
Exactly.
So that's all wonderful, and you're now at the same roadblock that we were at of just finding a storefront.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That is the hard part.
And it's sad that the city penalized the landlord. That's wrong. There's so many empty buildings.
It's wrong that they threatened our landlord.
There's so many empty buildings down here. And
this is a good thing. People.
It's not like, you're going into some crack house.
That's for sure.
You know what I mean?
You're coming out of a crack house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is the bridge from the crack house to the rest of your life that should be much, much better.
They should invest in clinics.
I want them to come down here. I thought if Mark McClellan, he's the only guy, right? Like I've talked to Judy Darcy's office, Adrian Carr's office. Rebecca Bly and I had a great conversation about what we're doing here. Premier Horgan's office and I had a great conversation about it. They're all very supportive and encouraging. It's one guy who's paid money as a public servant to uphold bylaws for the city. And his real big hard on is for these types of stores because they get $30,000 as a licensing fee from an a dispensary that goes legal.
Which is wrong.
Oh boy, is that ever wrong. Let's get going on that.
Oh yeah.
You know what it costs?
I owned my own business.
You know what it cost? So what was your license fee?
Oh.
So the city
charged
charged
like
you
$125, and I was 2 doors from First Choice, and I didn't get penalized because there was too many hair salons.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, too many hair salons. Can't open.
The fittest wins.
They're happy to get your $175. You want to open a business, great. You know, it helps the community, helps the city. You employ people. It's all positive. It's all good until it's a cannabis store.
That's right.
Now it's a cannabis store. Now it's a $30,000 licensing fee. Now, oh no, you can't have edibles.
You know what? They should charge the $30,000 to the licensed producers.
They do.
And places like this should be exempted.
Absolutely.
Exempted.
Absolutely. We're not paying tax
here. Shouldn't be a
here.
license fee.
If we're
Actually,
gonna pay,
they should be
tax.
giving you government grants to help you.
So far,
instead of to the wee charity.
So far, I haven't taken a wage here in 2 months because we want to get this thing up and running, and that's one of the things we can do to help that happen. But I'm going to, and once I do that, I'm more than willing to pay tax on my personal income that I derive from what we're doing here. But I am not putting tax on our products here because I am not charging those people out there tax money. We have $2.50 grams because a hit of meth is $3 on the corner. So if somebody can come here with their $3 and get change back and get a gram of cannabis instead of going and getting a hit of meth, then that's what we're going to do. And I'm not putting tax on that. So that person's now going to decide, the guy on the meth, he's not putting tax on it. So let's have the government here. Let's have these public servants come and talk to us here, us people who are in charge here, and discuss what should be taxed and what shouldn't be taxed. If there's costs to the community, if there's costs to the taxpayer, then taxes should be collected. That should be the idea of taxes. Cover the costs of things that cost. But when there's no cost involved, when it's a benefit to the community, when people are now not going to be harming themselves, they're not going to be using other substances that are deadly or costly to our system, that cost us healthcare dollars, that cost us social service dollars, and cost us a whole bunch of things. When we're reducing those costs, you don't put tax on it. You put an incentive on it. So, get me going on taxes now. Fucking government anyway. Just not happy these days. Maybe everybody's not happy these days. I hope that they're not happy enough that they get up off their couch, that they leave wherever they are, or maybe sit on the couch if you can do it from there. I don't know what you can do from your couch. But let's get angry here. Enough is enough, isn't it? I mean, how many people have to die? What, did you have to wait till it's your son or your daughter or your brother or sister that
nephew?
Yeah, or your nephew. I mean, they're all of our family members, every single one of them. And they're with the grace of God go any one of us out here. You can't judge these people. You can't say they're bad people. You have no idea. You have no idea who these people are that need help.
What they went through.
They're, like I say, they went through things nobody else did that's watching them. It's all unique to all of us.
Some of it's the doctor's fault.
Of course.
They put them on these pills, and then they end up on these pills and that pill. Then they don't work no more, and then they're on this stuff.
It's the whole system. The whole system is flawed because people have been dipped into this continually, increasingly hot, boiling, to the point of boiling water, and didn't notice it. You're taught to obey. Your kid, you're told no to everything you want to do. You're too small. You're incapable, and just do as you're told, and you'll be okay. And if you don't do as you're told, well, some parents take their kids down to the police station and let them sit in a cell for an hour and see what that feels like. They put them in handcuffs sometimes to let them see what that feels like. And I don't know if these things are right or wrong. I can't comment on what's right or wrong about how you do things. But I'm just saying, we're taught to obey. We're programmed to obey. And government just wants to have us complicit in everything. We shouldn't be. We should think it through. We should decide for ourselves. We should talk to other people. We should look at it from a reasoned point of view and with a filter of probably we can't trust these people. Probably they're lying to us. probably there's an agenda on the other side that involves them, their buddies getting rich somehow. And that's the filter that we should put on everything that we're presented by government and corporations. So, yeah, we live in a world of just obey, and just obey isn't cutting it anymore. Because, you know, now we got half the people that just want to obey, and the other half the people who say, are you kidding me? And now they're at odds with each other. People are unfriending each other. They're blocking each other. They're saying rude things to each other. People that otherwise would love each other.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you know, we're in some trouble here. We need everybody to be wide awake. We need everybody to realize, you know, what we're up against.
One person.
A family.
All for the same reason.
I want you to be free.
Just to free it.
Just to free us. I want you to be free.
Don't hurt anybody.
I want you to be
Don't
you.
harm yourself.
That's
be
it.
Good, be kind.
Well, if you want to harm yourself, you know, that is kind of your business.
Yeah. Well,
If I'm really close to you and I'm watching and I'm thinking that you're not doing it with all your faculties, I might question you a little bit. But, you know, some people think there's value in pain.
Yeah, but
some people think there's value in loss and going through that. Some people want to impress other people by sticking nails through their biceps and having trucks run over their head and other things that I've watched people do on TV. And
I know, it's
that's
crazy.
their business.
Yeah, it's their business.
You know,
but
you want to drown
they need cannabis.
You want to drown your sorrows with alcohol, your choice.
Plant
all
extract.
These things are people's choices. That's what I'm
I
saying.
know.
The one that you're bang on about is don't hurt other people. You know, I mean, that's not allowed. We can't be doing that. But for our own lives, it's nobody's business. It just ain't nobody's business. You know, if you want to make it your business, do it from a place of love in your heart. If you're that family member that sees your family member hurting themselves, and you say, are you okay? You can only ask that a few times, and then the person's going to say, fuck off, I'm doing what I have to do. And you don't know them. Yeah. Even if they're your brother and sister, you really don't know what's going on in somebody else's head, right? Who knows what demons people are fighting that they can't talk about, that they can't share. And so they're doing what they have to do for themselves. We want to help them. We want to give them options, right? That's what this is about. But we're not here to tell somebody they're wrong in what they're doing or that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. I don't like shouldn't on people. I just want people to have options and have the truth told to them. Mm-hmm. And that's all we can do.
Better programs.
This program.
Yeah.
This program.
Yeah.
This needs to be everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I hope I'm not alone here. I hope that you guys are going to find a storefront. I hope that other places out there, other people that had dispensaries, reinvent yourself. Think about it. You had people that you were helping in profound ways. Let's just help those people in profound ways, and the rest will follow along. Our low barrier access provides $2.50 grams. It provides really affordable concentrates, edibles, the whole range of everything. But other people that aren't suffering financially can also come here and get the same stuff. And that's what low barrier access is.
And they do. And they do.
And they do. And they need to, because we need that volume to make this a sustainable model. But this is legalizing cannabis for everybody. This is not just for the people that are on opioids, that are in poverty and homeless or whatever and need low barrier access. This is for everybody. This is where your cannabis store can be. And we need them everywhere. We need medical cannabis dispensaries that have low barrier access everywhere.
And doing a CSP out of it.
Well, that's low barrier.
Yeah.
You have to give it away to people that can't afford it, or it's not low barrier. Yeah. If people come in here and say, I don't have any money, man, I'm really drug sick, I don't know what to do.
Give them an edible.
You have to have a program for that. Yeah. We can't include any more people in our program right now because we're doing over 200 people that get 420 milligrams every 4 days, and that's 80,000 milligrams, and it's all by donation or what we can do by sharing with the profits of the dispensary.
We need more bakers. Send in some more.
You know, it's just heartbreaking that people can't get into our program right now because we don't have enough capacity. As soon as Mary and her group get another storefront, they will do the same as we are doing. There'll be another couple hundred people that can be helped until they reach what they feel is their capacity without more funding or without more abilities. So everybody needs to be able to be part of that. What we do for the people that come in here and they can't be included in the program is we give them a cookie and we give them a joint. And nobody walks out of here without at least a cookie or a joint because they didn't have money. And if people only have a couple bucks, I usually don't take their money from them either, because, you know, you keep your couple bucks and here's a cookie and a joint, because that's what low barrier has to be. We're based on compassion here. We're people over profits. We're trying to look after the people that need help. instead of trying to make a whole bunch of money off of them. And that's the new model
And not
for
educating
cannabis.
them. You can go into a licensed producer and they don't know anything about it. They're not allowed to talk
They're not
about
even
it.
allowed to talk about
They're not even allowed to talk
it.
about
It's
it.
disgusting.
Yeah, it is.
And the way they're
How
growing
can
it,
you help people? Like, you can't.
you can't. They're
They
not
don't
there to
get
help
no
people.
education whatsoever on what strain they should use or anything.
A good friend of ours had the
Especially
farm down the street.
seniors.
You know, a really good
Especially
dispensary.
seniors.
Really good dispensary that was helping all kinds of people here down the street was the farm. It wasn't low barrier, but it was still there and it still had access. And they were a good community place. I think they made sure that people that couldn't afford it got it as well. Their investor group had to go the route of trying to get a license. That's kind of what investor groups do.
Yeah.
And they've gotten a license from the provincial government. So now they're bound by all of those regulations. They
Yeah.
can't have cheap grams. And
that's wrong.
Their idea is, because they had to twist their brain around it somehow, and they had to justify what they're doing somehow. And their idea is that, well, they're going to make a whole bunch of profits because that's how it's structured, although it really isn't, from people that are willing to come and spend big bucks there from other better parts of town where they have their own cannabis stores there too. So I'm not sure why they think rich people are going to drive their fancy cars into this neighborhood and park and get out and go into a dispensary.
Yeah.
But that's what they think they can do. And then they're going to take the enormous profits that they think they're going to make, and they're going to put it back into the community through community programs, and that's what they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
You know, they can't have cheap grams. They can't give it
Have you
away.
seen it happening?
I've never seen it happen.
Exactly.
I wish them luck,
You know what?
but you know,
How I say about the seniors is, I was with a friend of mine in Ontario and we opened a place called the Greener Years. And we had seniors coming in because their doctor would give them a prescription to get the medicine from a licensed producer. It would be mailed to them and they'd get it and go, what the hell am I supposed to do with that?
right.
So we had seniors coming in constantly wanting to learn.
You know Jade Ridge?
Yeah, I've heard of her, yeah.
Jade's awesome.
Yeah.
She was in a relationship with a doctor in Winnipeg, and the doctor would sign up. He was awesome because he understood cannabinoids and the endocannabinoid system, and
That's
pretty much
good.
anything that was wrong with people, he'd say, well, we'll try you on cannabinoids first.
Yep.
And then what Jade would do is go and, not a COVID cough, it would go and, it would go and educate them. So she'd put together her little package of edibles and she'd go and visit these people at their farms and sit down with these seniors. And, you know, many of them had never used cannabis in their lives. And she'd teach them how to bake with it. And they'd sit there and get baked together. And
That's what it's about.
It's such a community thing to do, right? So
that's why I really like to have a kitchen, so we can do that too in the kitchen.
we need a bunch of different things.
You know, volunteers can come in and bake the edibles for CSB.
Of course
You know what I mean?
Yes, we would. We're still having volunteers cook things, but you know, we need an industrial kitchen.
Yeah.
That's one of the aspects that they're probably going to want us to conform to, and we probably will. Although, can't we just test the edibles that are donated? Because people want to donate that don't have a commercial kitchen, and they've been doing it for 3.5 years with us. Do I really have to turn those people away? No. Do I have to turn away people that just want to bake some brownies in their kitchen and then put a bunch of love into it? And, you know, can we not figure out some way? Can I get a signature on a piece of paper from a public servant, please, to be able to accept loving donations to our program that we can somehow in-house test? From people like
their grandmother.
Yeah, exactly.
From people like their grandmother.
Why can't these people help people?
Or their great-grandmothers who used to do all that back in the day.
Grandmothers who lost a grandchild to the opioid crisis that want to give back. And we're providing them a vehicle for doing that, an opportunity to be able to give back. Do we have to say no to those people? I haven't said no for 3.5 years. We've had a good look at everything that comes in as a donation. It's our responsibility to do that. I've had testers, you know, volunteer people that upon a proper visual inspection have, you know, tested it and seen, you know, if it works and how powerful it is and if there's any problems with it. There's been a few things that we've had to reject because of a few different things. But for the most part, we want to be held as responsible people that can accept donations as a society from grandmothers who want to give to our causes in the ways that they can.
Yep, well, it's
So-
like next door when they put out all that free food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's so cool doing that.
It is so cool doing that. I did ask them
You weren't allowed
if
to
they were
before.
allowed to do that. It's a Korean church that comes here because we're here with another group that is in 2 doors up from us that rented because of us, and we're all here together. They're coming here and bringing a whole bunch of tables full of amazing food
Yep.
for people just to take away. Everybody gets to take 10 items or something, or 10
Yeah.
bags full,
Yeah,
or whatever it
which
is. You
is
know,
really cool.
it's amazing. But I asked the fellow, you know, are you permitted to do this? Because I want to know, because there's things like that that are not permitted, right?
That's right.
And he just nodded and smiled, but I don't think he understood what I
He
said.
probably
So-
didn't understand it. He didn't care.
So I don't really, and maybe that's how they get away with it. The government comes and says, "Oh no, you need a piece of paper with a signature on it before you can do this," and they just nod and smile
And walk away.
and then go ahead and give out their food.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and that's kind of what we're doing too. We're
Yeah.
nodding and smiling
That's
and
what
saying,
we
"Yeah,
should
okay,
do.
we need a piece of paper with a signature on it. We understand that. That's fine. You give us that." But we're not going to stop helping people. If they want us to stop helping people, I want them, whoever they are. If it's just Mark McClellan, it doesn't seem to be anybody else. I've had nobody else tell us we shouldn't be doing this. But Mark, come on down, buddy. You come and tell the people that they're not going to be able to get their edibles for the next 4 days to keep them off the street drugs. You tell them that, because I don't want to tell them that. I personally actually can't tell them that. I wouldn't be able to tell them that.
You know what?
So,
If that's
you know.
what he ends up, if that's what he thinks, he doesn't care about
That's
BC. Why is he even
doesn't
doing
care
the
about
job
people,
he's doing?
'cause you're
he doesn't
paying him.
care.
He's
He
got a
doesn't
job.
care.
They're paying him.
Well, he should be
That's
gone.
what he cares about.
He's not doing his job.
He's going to do that job better than the next guy that might take his job, because he wants to keep that job, and he's happy doing that
He's
job
not
because he
doing
probably
his job.
doesn't like cannabis,
Yeah.
and he probably doesn't like opioid addicts, and he probably likes that he can collect $30,000 from
Yeah.
every cannabis dispensary or cannabis store. And he only gets $175 a month or a year from the drug stores. Yes, that's correct. You heard me right. In Vancouver, it's $175 for a small pharmacy to get a license from the city to sell their dangerous, toxic
Yeah.
drugs to people.
Yeah.
But here, should they license us, they're going to try to get the $30,000 out of us that they think that somebody should pay for. Oh man, get me
And
off.
they don't even know about cannabis.
I'm having an
either.
interesting day,
They
Mary.
don't even know about cannabis either.
Well, he doesn't apparently, because if
Well,
he
they
did,
don't. They don't learn that. They learn what's
if
in
he
their
has
Bible.
a soul, and if he understood, he certainly would not send me that email scaring us and our landlord and the people
That's
that we're
right.
helping.
That's
He
right.
wouldn't do that. People wouldn't do that if they understood and they had some sort of a soul. So yeah, come on down, Mark, and see what we're doing here, please. I've asked you every time I've talked to you to come down and see what we're doing here, and see if you think we should stop doing what we're doing. But anyway, I'm having quite a day.
And you know what?
Is it-
250 people. There's so many of them that you're not even touching it yet. You know, you're not even touching it yet. It's just the beginning.
There's
Like, it's
probably a good 2,000 that would use our services if they knew about it right here in
Yeah.
this
But you can't
12
tell them all because you
square
don't have
block
enough.
radius.
You don't have enough.
Well, now they're being told no. At first they were being told, hey, there's a store
That
there.
breaks my heart. You gotta
Me too.
say no.
I know.
That
I'm having a
kills me.
really, really
That
hard time with
kills
it.
me. I am
But
too.
as I'm watching our supplies dwindle, giving out 80,000 milligrams every 4 days, I cannot keep including people and just give away what we have until I'm telling people no anyway. I can't do that. I
No,
have
you
to
can't.
manage this properly.
Yeah.
So we're going to manage it properly. And unfortunately, that means I got to find other donators or funding from somewhere. We still can't even get a bank account for our society because it says cannabinoid therapeutics all through the goals and objectives. And so the banks look at that and they go, oh, cannabinoid therapeutics, you're going to be supplying cannabinoids to people. Is that going to be through the legal system? And we say, well, we sure hope so. We believe that we should get a signature on a piece of paper to do what we're doing, but no, it's not. We don't conform. We're not complicit with the Cannabis Act at this point, and we're in violation of federal law. And they go, well, no, you can't have an account here. Or they say, give us a whole bunch of money for us to check into whether or not we should give you
I
an
wonder
account.
if a trust
and then they won't give us
company
the account.
would.
I don't know, but right now we're going to have trouble. Well, we will take that check. We will have a check made out. As soon as any government agency will make us out a check to help people the way that we're doing it, we'll take that check. We'll write in there the Serious Hope Society. And with a substantial check, some financial institution, we think, will give us a bank account.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But it shouldn't be hard like this. We shouldn't have to be fighting our governments. They shouldn't be wasting tax dollars taking activists and dispensary owners to court, fighting against the ability of people to do what we're doing here. There shouldn't be a fight with public servants. Their very nature as a public servant should involve them being people that can do due diligence and do homework and investigate properly and come to reasoned decisions.
They're uneducated.
And I'm saying that they should be educated by their position. That to take that position means an immediate upgrade of your educational skills on learning how to learn, and then learning how to use science and evidence to make proper decisions about things. And they are obviously not doing that with the cannabis file. The reams of evidence we have to do with how cannabis is helping people in so many different ways is so easy to find. And yet here our government.
Very easy.
Very hard to ignore, you know, really hard. You got to be hiding under a bush or a rock to not really get that cannabis is helping people.
They don't believe.
Well, they care about money. They care about something, but it ain't about that. It ain't about helping people.
All they care about. They don't care
so
about nothing
we need
else.
different public servants.
Yes, we do.
Yep. We need public servants that know their servants.
We need some young people that are in the cannabis community that are educated to run for office in City Hall.
We should be doing all of those things. You know, anybody who thinks that, but who wants to do that, you know?
No, that's the
when
only
I was
way you're
younger,
going to make the change.
When I was
that's
younger.
the only way you're going to make the change.
15 years ago.
I tell my kid that, you know? Get into politics.
I know.
That's the only way you're going to make the change.
It is important to do that. And I don't mean to be a naysayer on it. But 15 years ago, I had come to that point in my life where I believed that that was not a route that I would take. That I didn't want nothing to do with politics.
Are you changing your mind?
Well, they changed it for me 15 years ago.
Well, maybe you should run for East Side.
And I have changed my mind, sure.
Why don't you run for East Side?
I don't know if I want politics. Now I am too old. But back then, because 16 years ago,
too old.
We opened another one of these. We opened a second dispensary in Vancouver at the time. There was the Compassion Club. And I guess I'll give him a little bit of kudos, although he doesn't typically want to give me any kudos for it. But David Malmo-Levine and I opened a medical cannabis dispensary 1 block over from here. And it's been 16 years since we've done that. But at the time, you know, I had to quit my job. I read Jack Herer's book the night of that was just a renovation job for me. I was a carpenter and I was taking side jobs as renovation jobs, and I wanted to help David with what he was doing with the pot rallies. I wasn't actually charging him to do that renovation, but it was a side job that I'd agreed to take on. And during that long weekend renovation, I read Jack Herer's book. Yeah. And that's what prompted me to have an epiphany, to cry my eyes out, to quit my job, that all within that last night of working there. And so I kind of been doing this ever since. But right away they said, you know, we're having an election. The next year came an election, and the BC Marijuana Party was wanting to have a candidate in every riding, which is difficult to do. And so they came to me and said, you need to run for us. And I said, oh, no. I have my ideas about politics. I never want to be a politician because, you know, if you could actually make a difference, then they would stop you somehow. And I don't want to get assassinated or bribed.
Yeah, I've said that too.
You know, so
the honest ones get shot.
But in this case, it was running for the BC Marijuana Party. Well, they didn't have a hope in hell of winning. Yeah. So I wasn't actually going to become a politician and have to go through the bribery and the threats and shit. You know, that's what they call lobbying. Yeah. And a lobbyist is a good briber and threatener. But so I thought, you know, I'll do this. And it was a great opportunity to be able to get some messaging out there and, you know, get TV spots and debates in different, like I ran in Surrey. So I got to debate out there against the other politicians and stuff. And that was really cool. I liked all of that. But yeah, I think people should get involved in politics.
Yeah, they should. Especially the people that really believe, and you need more than one.
It's a dangerous, corrupt place to be.
It is. Okay. Of course. Of course.
You got to understand that going in. If you can understand that going in, you have a real leg up on it, right? If you're naive, then you're going to be disappointed. And,
sometimes the honest ones go in there and they end up being corrupt too.
They do.
You know.
These are powerful forces that we're up against. Money is a language everybody understands, or almost everybody understands, and so many people have a price. You know, and I guess they find it. You know, the system works for them. The system works for the corporations. It doesn't work well for the people. As we move forward, more and more legislation is passed. The corporations get more and more sophisticated about how they can control government, how they can manipulate people, how they can control our thoughts with their advertising, with their other things that happen here that they're involved with that people have no idea about. You know?
Exactly.
So, you know, we're up against tough odds. We've always been up against tough odds. But what else we got to do, eh?
Yeah.
You know?
It's an essential nutrient. Everybody should.
You got to live your life. If you're going to live your life oppressed by corporate greed and corrupt governments, then, well, let's have some fun with it. You know, make the best of it. Be one of the wrenches that gets in their gears. You know, see the gains that you can make, because one person can make a difference. I'll tell you. You start doing what you think is right to do. We're all creative people with different takes on how you do it. You start doing what you think you can do. If it's writing a letter, making a phone call, going and visiting somebody, putting up a sign, putting on a rally, baking baked goods, whatever it is you think you can do, you start doing that. Right away, you start feeling good about what you've done. But as you track your progress, as you track the progress, you look back a year later on what it is that you started doing that, and you made a difference.
Oh, huge.
And a whole bunch of people making a difference is how we get differences made. So, you know, we all got to do this, is what I'm saying. It's important.
I did that in London in my son's hair salon. I made up a whole bunch of topical cream and gave it away to all the seniors.
Right on.
I went in there and they were in so much pain, and so many of them have cancer and dying, and I couldn't shut up.
Yeah.
I couldn't shut up.
If you know a solution, you can't shut up.
Oh, no. I'd give them my cream. I go, here, see the miracle first.
Right.
Then you'll believe.
Yeah.
And they were coming back asking for more.
Right.
It was helping with their aches and
Well,
pain.
of course.
And I just gave it away.
The topicals are incredible.
Yeah.
The reports of topicals are incredible here. Probably some of the best reports we get are from people who are dealing with either pain or things on their skin.
And that's the best way to educate them.
For sure.
They don't get high.
Of course.
But if they get a blood test, they do have THC in their system.
Right.
I have one older lady that I gave her the cream, and she went to fly to Calgary, and
yeah, I think our little thing of salve that we sell, we have a couple. We have MJ creams here as well, but the little thing of salve has 150 milligrams of THC in it. The ones that were working the best that we were getting from Twisted Extracts, there was a pretty incredible amount of THC in a very tiny little amount. But the reports back on that were just amazing, I say, just probably, amazing. Yeah. Miracles, absolute miracles.
Well, the higher the THC, the better. That's the healing, right?
It is.
And when you eat the full plant extract cannabis oil, it puts you to sleep.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. It puts you to sleep, and that's when you heal, though.
Sure.
When you're in a critical condition in the hospital and they put you in induced coma, they're doing that so you sleep and heal.
Yeah, your body has to only focus on what it's doing. So just take the cannabis oil and go to sleep. I did it the other night. Slept very well. I always sleep pretty well anyway, but it was noticeable, and certainly for people that have trouble sleeping, that would be a help.
Very good, very good.
I don't have trouble
but
sleeping.
When somebody starts off with it, they don't get as big a dose as you had. You know what
I mean? You were trying to look after me.
They're only supposed to take a grain, a grain of rice. That's it.
Well, you knew I was going to sleep right away, so.
Good night.
Yeah, that's what it was. And it's powerful, powerful medicine.
Oh, yeah.
The concentrates, this is the leading edge of actual medicine, that the whole cannabis, the illegal cannabis industry.
I don't like how they break it up. I like full plant extract. I believe in full plant.
I think that
I put different strains in. Like, I don't just do one strain. I do all different strains because each plant has its own cannabinoid system, right? So you're getting all the different ones.
It's such a I'm not a scientist, and it's such
Me neither.
When I look at the whole cannabis thing from the scientist's point of view, I'm overwhelmed pretty quickly because there's so much to it. I mean, our endocannabinoid system is a very complex system. It really has influence over all of the other systems within the human body. The different strains, the strain selection is just incredible.
The thing that bothers me and scares me is the pharmaceutical company breaking it up, and who knows what else they're doing with it.
They're going to do that.
They don't care.
They're going to do that.
They don't care.
That's what they do. I don't think there's any stopping them. I don't want to stop them. I don't care about them. I just care about whether or not we're going to be allowed to have an equal place in the marketplace. Like let us do what works for people, only put regulations on us that make sense when necessary.
Yeah.
We are dealing with the safest compound found in nature with cannabis and cannabinoids. These extreme concentrates that we have here, we have stuff called diamonds that has been so well refined to the bare medical component. You know, these things are so valuable to people, they don't harm anybody. Like, you could green out. You know, if you
Like
smoke
it
too much,
says, "Good night."
you know, like you say, you know, you
Good
can put somebody to sleep.
Yeah.
You can eat too many edibles and feel very uncomfortable with your head like so thick and hanging onto a pole and
So you
wishing
eat
that you
another
didn't
one
do
and
that.
go to sleep.
But it's never going to kill you
No.
because it has never killed anybody, and that's a pretty good test. Is if it's, well, I wouldn't say it's non-narcotic. It depends on Joe Pepper's saying it's non-narcotic, but it really depends on your definition of narcotic, because narcos is the root word, is all about sleep. And certainly the strong indicas and hurtful plant extracts will help you sleep. So it does qualify in that sense. But in the modern day kind of understanding of what a narcotic is, on the schedule perhaps, yeah, it's a benign substance. It really doesn't have that lethal effect. It has an LD50 rating, like everything has an LD50 rating, a lethal dose for 50% of the average adults that would consume X amount in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. That LD50 rating for cannabis is unattainable. It's like 1,500 pounds in 10 minutes. So it's unattainable. Nobody's ever died from, you know, taking a big hit of the most highly concentrated cannabis, or from eating too much. You go to sleep. And you wake up.
Their body functions, they still breathe.
That's right. It doesn't shut down your lungs.
Right.
It doesn't shut down your cardiovascular.
No.
And sometimes up to 3 or 4 days later, you rise from your sleep.
That's right.
And yeah, and you feel pretty good actually at that point. I did. I lost 3 days in Toronto thanks to Puff Mama's brownies and the Kindred Cafe's infused milkshake.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, and I was a somewhat of a novice. I mean, we put weed on pizza and got really high. We did bake some brownies and got really high.
Oh, yeah.
But I wasn't a daily edible user or anything like that at all. And I was on the first Freedom Tour, or second Freedom Tour. I think it was the second Freedom Tour in 2007 in Toronto. And Chris Goodwin and a bunch of the other activists there took me to the Kindred Cafe. Well, I like the milkshakes. Boy, I'll tell you, $25. I didn't pay for it. They just said, here you go. And I got that down, no trouble. And I don't remember too much after that, except that I do remember being at Puff Mama's Cannabis Cafe.
Yeah.
And we were early for a function that she was putting on for the Freedom Tour. And the two people that were with me and we ate this whole plate of the most delicious brownies. Oh, Joey knows how to cook. I'll tell you, she was the best baker in town. And that's the last thing I remember, is her coming to the table and saying, oh my God, you didn't just eat all of those. That was for 12 people. I'm sure I ate more than anybody else because I really liked those. And I didn't leave her cafe for 3 nights. She had a little cot in the back, and she let me sleep it off in the cot in the back.
You know, a lot of people don't understand either. You can use the bud as a herb. Put it in your soups, put it in whatever you make.
Oh, yeah.
And over time, doing it at first, you get stone drunk. But after doing it every day for about 6 weeks, 2 months, you don't get that way.
Well,
you can function better, actually.
You're not decarboxylating it, which means you have to raise
the
THC.
You're baking it.
If you're baking it. Yeah, if you're baking it.
Yeah, you don't have to decarboxylate if you're baking it already.
Even just raw THCA.
Yeah.
Yeah, is does have some ability to make you feel that way.
You don't want to do any higher than that. That burns it, right?
Right, of course. Decarboxylating means that you heat the raw THC, which is called THCA, to a point where it changes, decarboxylates into what's called THC delta 9, and it's the THC delta 9 that binds to your CB1 receptors in the brain and causes the euphoria. And there's a huge science behind all of this stuff here, and that's kind of the thing with what we're doing here. We are, I believe, at the leading edge of real medical scientific exploration here with our little medical dispensary.
As long as
but it's a long journey that we're just at the very beginning of it. And we are absolute neophytes with what we actually understand about it. We don't make claims here about what it will do for people. We simply give the education to people about what the general population seems to experience, that the indicas are more of a relaxant on that side of the spectrum, and the sativas are more of a stimulant and on that side of the spectrum, but not true for everybody is what people report. And so, you know, what your experience with cannabis might be is unique to you, and we try to let people understand that that's their own little journey of figuring out, you know, which of these variety of different products is going to help them the best, you know. And that's why I say that, you know, for your full spectrum extract, I do believe that's probably the best way to do it. But it's not the only way, and it might not be the best way for everybody, depending on them
Well, it needs to
and
be
what
in
their
a
needs are.
clinical atmosphere, you know, where you have registered nurses on that can lower their dose of their pharmaceuticals they're on while they're doing the cannabis oil.
So what we need is an MJ Malloy, a doctor who will come here and get funding to run a project to find out which of the cannabinoids
to get a
works.
building with little apartments in it.
That too.
You have a caregiver on site. You have to have a caregiver on site.
We could put, you know, this control group on just these concentrates, or we could put this control group on just these edibles, and we could monitor in ways that could be peer reviewed.
Yeah, you put them on full plant extract, give them the oil.
Well, that would be the other control group, or one of the other control groups.
That's the best.
You'd probably win. You know? But even then, if that's the control group that is showing the most benefits for that group that's using it, it won't be everybody in that group that experiences that same level of benefit as some of the others. And in those groups that don't show much benefit, there will be members of that group that get a full benefit from it in what works for them. And anybody that's regulating or dictating these things, you know, dictators, you know, they need to be cognizant of that understanding, that every human being is a unique individual, you know, walking set of chemicals that are different from everybody else.
But
and there should be no fast and solid rules.
When you're doing that program, though, with the full plant extract, you have to be careful because there are a lot of cons out there, and they give the wrong medicine, which it doesn't help, especially for people that are really, really sick, you know? Cancer patients are taking it, and it's healing their cancer.
So in other words, it would have to be a doctor that was doing it for the right reasons.
That's right.
That's right.
Or you could just guide them and
really, there could be doctors that might do it for some ulterior motive to not show cannabinoids as being effective. Wow. I hope not.
Yeah.
But of course there is, because these pharmaceutical companies have commissioned studies all through the years.
You just test
to
it
get the
before you
results
bring it
that
to
they
your program.
want.
You test it before you bring it into your program, so you know it is what
I
it
would
needs
test
to
the
be.
doctor first.
Yeah, that
and if I felt that the gentleman or woman had the right criteria for running the program in the way that would get us the best results, we want true, pure science as best we could, you know, then we would happily work with that type of individual.
And they have to work for us.
For the
because
people.
then we're in charge.
Well,
because they're
the
doing
people.
it for the people.
Exactly.
Yeah, but somebody has to make sure they're in line.
Well, bottom line is we have a board of directors here with the Serious Hope Society, and everybody answers to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're a really, really good group, and we have a really good advisory board of people that would help make sure that anybody that is involved with us would be that type of a quality human being doing it for the right reasons. And unfortunately, we do have to be considerate of that. You know, the pharmaceutical companies and the studies that they base their opinions on when it comes to cannabis are obviously skewed. When you go back and look at the way that they were done, you can see that there was definite biases built in. So much of these studies is to do with the way you ask questions and the way you frame things and the demographics of the people you're asking. And
they silence
the
truth.
They do,
they
of course.
Silence it.
I'd love to know how many studies they did that they shelved.
Huge.
Oh my
huge
God.
Studies. There already are huge studies out there.
And not just the pharmaceutical companies, but the governments too.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, our public servants as well.
But they can't speak up because something happens always. I'll say no more.
Politics is a dangerous place to be. And
no, I'm
that's
talking
been
about
proven
the scientists and the doctors that are speaking up for it.
Yeah, and the politicians.
You know, some of them end up missing because of it.
And the politicians that would dare to present their studies instead of the other studies.
That's right.
You know, unfortunately, we live in a corrupt world here, and there's really, really big dollars involved.
Huge.
Huge. And I wish it wasn't that way. I wish it wasn't, and we didn't have to fight off these people. But they've been using their financial and networking leverage for decades
They have
to
this.
protect their interests.
That's right.
That's leverage.
Yeah.
That there is leverage. Slippery. It's
And
slippery.
it's all
Slippery stuff on a surface, and it just slides right along.
Top cops.
They grease those
all
wheels,
those
you
people
know.
are the ones that are in there.
They have not needed all the politicians. You can actually be a fairly successful, ethical politician here in Canada. You just won't get your bills passed in Parliament. You'll be silenced by your main party.
One. You need more than one.
I know.
In that group.
For decades here in Canada, these corporate greedy bastards have really only needed to have the PMO. You know, they got the Prime Minister's office, they got the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And then they got the Justice Minister. And justice ministers for decades here in Canada have instructed their staff to not spend a lot of time thinking about how could it possibly be a crime to have a few plants in your house.
Yeah.
Or to have possession of a few flowers in a baggie. How could that be a crime, Mr. Justice Minister? Hey, I work in the Justice Department. I want to know how that could be a crime. Shut up. Shut up or you won't work here anymore. We can't be talking about that around here. We just do that because that's what taxpayers want. That's what the voters want. That's what they tell their staff.
Yeah,
that's what they tell the cops.
Want.
That's what they tell everybody. They say, people in Canada voted for this government. This is the government that implemented these things. So that's what the majority of the people in Canada want. And that's how they justify their existence.
Trudeau
and it's
lied.
a bunch of bullshit.
Trudeau lied.
It's a bunch of bullshit that is very convenient.
And I constantly tell him online he's a
I know you
piece
do.
of shit.
I know you do. I see that all the time.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he really is. He lied straight to my face, you know.
Huge.
He's just a politician like all the rest of them, and they're all pieces of shit.
Piece of shit.
Yep. Yep.
And they will all come down eventually. It's happening.
Any justice minister, any prime minister that has had on their watch the attempt to prohibit cannabis and saw any young person have their life ruined, saw any working father lose his job, saw any penalty for anything to do with this amazing plant is corrupt and deserves to be taken to task for it. They are all corrupt. They always have all been corrupt. So can't speak to all the rest of the politicians that weren't in a position to do anything about it because of party policy and other restrictions on them. But certainly every prime minister and every justice minister.
If they had morals, they would stand up and say, fuck you.
You think so?
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I know if I was in there, that's what I'd be going, fuck you, Trudeau.
Me too. I'd be standing up in there every day and having them kick me out of there because I would not be happy about these things. You know, we rail on about the whole cannabis, what's the word I want to use, fiasco, you know, circus, whatever. But there's a lot of other circuses going on in our parliaments as well.
Oh yeah, it's not just about cannabis.
It's not just about cannabis.
Everything.
It's like, everywhere where there's a dollar to be made by a corporation and they can get their fingers in there.
It's like the farmers, like they have to use certain things in their ground to even grow. And you know, they can't use what they want.
The egg monopoly board, the other
same
board.
Thing,
there's, you know, sure, all the people involved in that are really happy, and there's some positives that come out of those things. But you look at all the negatives that come out. You look at whether or not freedom is being respected or not, and the marketplace is deciding things, and you find out that no, it's some big players that are in behind that are profiting greatly on the way things are structured.
Well, that's like in the East Coast. Irving owns probably 3/4 of the East Coast.
The Irvings, eh?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, they have control of all New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. I'm not sure about Newfoundland, but yeah.
I think it was
Irvings.
The Irvings in New Brunswick that they were talking about, or maybe it was another family in Manitoba, or maybe it was one in Saskatchewan. I'm not sure now. Maybe there's families in all those places.
Maybe they're all over the place.
That, you know, every one of these little bastions of people have on top of them some corporate family, some family that has trillions of dollars and has put in place the right people to make sure that whenever there's some sensitive legislation being presented, that they get their interests looked after. First. So, you know, I don't know.
They don't believe in competition. They're scared little pussies. They really are. They don't believe in competition. That's exactly what it is.
I don't want to get these people too mad, you know, because they'll kill me in a heartbeat, probably. I don't know. That's what I always thought, you know.
Yeah, but don't think that.
That
Put
night,
out there.
16 years ago, when I had my epiphany, I cried my eyes out. I realized that these corporate bastards were starving children to death around the world to protect their money interests and their control interests.
They're doing to them.
And I cried my eyes out, and I realized that there was nothing else that I could feel good about doing for the rest of my life but to try to do something about that. And my way to get there, my path to the mountaintop, is through getting proper legalization of cannabis and watching some other things fall into place. That's my plan. I don't know if it's valid or not, but that's what I'm trying to do.
That isn't the only
But I gotta
thing
say,
they're doing to the children, and it's all coming
oh,
out.
I
Like,
know.
it's coming out
There's a
horrible.
lot of things.
It really
But
is.
that night when that happened to me, you know, the first thing I thought of was a position. I had taken these positions in life. I had taken the position that I never wanted to be a politician because that would result in bribes and threats that I didn't want to deal with, and that the whole thing was corrupt. But I also had taken this position about activism, that if I could make a difference, that they would stop me. And if I could put a noticeable dent in any of the operations of these corporate giants that want to do what they do with us, that they would then notice me and stop me somehow. And I had a wife and kids, and those were some of the reasons I had taken that position. It wasn't until my wife had left and my kids had all grown up, and now I had nothing to lose, that I had my epiphany helping with the pot rallies and doing that store over there. But as I was crying my heart out, I thought to myself, well, my position on this is that if I make a difference, then they'll get rid of me. But I can't not try to make a difference now. Yeah. Now it's too much. No. And David said to me, he said, well, the more known you are, the less they're able to deal with you. The harder it is for them to deal with you. They can't just kill you in the middle of the night and some guy nobody knows had a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I kind of took that to heart, and I've decided, well, so be it. If I'm going to put my name and face to it, then I'm going to do it. And so, yeah, I just do it.
Is right.
But I'm 16 years into this now. Since that moment. That was 16 years ago. I never think about it now. I just thought about it because we talked about it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And I know that there's a multitude of people that would come after me. And some of them because I mysteriously had a heart attack, and maybe I will. I have no idea. Setting it up there, I guess. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, you do become harder to get rid of because nobody's going to believe that it was just this otherwise healthy guy that all of a sudden died in the middle of the night of a heart attack, right? When it's somebody that's got some prominence and got some notoriety, whose voice is something that is heard.
Can't have it.
There would be a whole bunch of my friends, I'll tell you, that would say, no, Neil didn't just die of a heart attack in the middle of the night. Something else happened there, whether it's true or not. And so that would inspire a whole bunch of other people to do a whole bunch of things. And that's what they're afraid of. And that's the only protection that I have. Right, because otherwise, I know that if they could, they'd do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, huge.
But they know they've got to sit and think about it. They've got to know. Well, okay, but if we get rid of him, it doesn't really matter how well we make it look like it was suicide or a heart attack or whatever. There's going to be a whole whack of people that are going to say, no, another one of these. Because there's a whole bunch of them that look really smelly.
It's called power to the people, right? More people, more power you have.
Yeah, exactly. The masses of people is where our power is. There's millions of people that care about what we care about. Freedom, basic freedom. They care because their issue is this or that or the other with the government that is oppressing them. We're all being oppressed by this. Every place that you turn around, they're taking too much of our tax money.
And a lot of them trust their doctors.
Well, what are you going to do?
That's so wrong. Like, they trust their doctors.
That's a microcosm of what we've been talking about. Because the doctor-patient relationship is all about trust, and it has to be. And the doctors, just like we talked about how the corporations and the government have all these mechanisms for helping us to obey, the doctors have them as well. They're dressed in the white robes.
Yep.
They've got
and they
7
got their
years.
Pharmaceutical Bible there.
They got the Bible. They've got university training, and they have the answer. The way that they present it to you, their bedside manner, bedside manner is a whole course for doctors. How do you talk to your patient to convince them that you're right? Because it's all about trust. Because what they know that they're not telling you, they know because they do these studies. Placebo is a very, very powerful medical tool.
Yeah.
If a person believes that they're getting healed and taking a pill that's going to help heal them,
They
so
believe
many
it.
times
They
that
believe it.
belief
Yep.
is what heals them. And the other way works just as well. That if that patient does not have faith in the doctor, does not have faith in that pill, is very doubtful of the positive effects, then there's a good chance they're not going to get those positive effects, because you basically most of the time get whatever it is you believe that you're going to get. So they spend a lot of time being in a setting and presenting it in a way that will convince the people to trust them. Even the pharmaceutical pills have built-in side effects. I mean, this all came out years ago. I'm not making this shit up. The built-in side effects to make your stomach ache,
Yep.
to interrupt your bowel movements,
So you have
to
to
give
take a
you a
different
headache,
pill.
because the doctor is going to say to you, this is a powerful pill.
Yep.
This is the pill that's going to work for you. It's powerful, so it's going to mess up a little bit of other things for you. You might get a headache. You might have a bit of an upset stomach. Your bowels might be interrupted. So when the pill does that, hell, the doctor was just telling you the truth. All the more reason to trust in that pill.
And you know,
And they have another pill for that.
exactly.
I didn't mention that.
And they were not taught about the endocannabinoid system.
Not at all.
Not a bit.
Because, you know,
they don't even know what it exists.
Because
That's
most of the
pretty
funding,
sad.
and here's another thing,
That's when you really wake up and go, oh my God.
this is not made up. This is the truth. In Canada, our doctors have more money contributed to their education from pharmaceutical companies than from taxpayers.
That's right.
So what kind of results do you think you're going to get? I'd say those pharmaceutical companies that are investing those billions of dollars in our future doctors have a vested interest in what those doctors are going to be prescribing and what those doctors are going to be understanding. And I think that if they allow doctors to understand the endocannabinoid system, that's just going to shoot a whole wrench into their whole machinery.
All the doctors are going to have heart attacks because they've been lied to, and they'll realize that.
That's right.
They're going to go, holy fuck, we've been lied to too?
Yeah.
We didn't think we've been lied to.
We have been lied to. The cops have been lied to. The
Everybody.
doctors have been lied to. Everybody's being lied to here. And it's all for money, and it's all for greed, and it's all by a group that don't give a shit about who gets harmed in the process.
No, they don't. They're not there to heal you. They're to make profits.
Exactly. Well, Mary, we've rolled this around several different ways and came to the same conclusions every time we did it. We are living in a corrupt system. We need good people to do good things like you're doing here.
Yeah.
And thank you for what you're doing and the people that you're inspiring. I can tell there's a whole bunch of ladies out there right now that are thinking, hey, I could bake for things, and I could be a little force myself if I wanted to. I think I'm going to get on the phone and call somebody because now I'm upset about some shit. If you look into it, you'll be upset. You can't help but be upset. That's what I said. Everybody in society is upset. We're all upset with government, be they cannabis consumers or be they pipeline people or be there other people that are just trying to park at a hospital. And they can't because the prices are too high and the fees are too much and the regulations are restrictive, and it's all making money for the big corporations in the background. We all understand this. We are all in this together. That is for sure. And we all need to work together to get to the other side of this forest that we find ourselves in.
So you have to educate people. And they have to educate
and agitate.
Yeah,
educate and agitate.
Good one.
Say it over and over to yourself. That's what you can do. That's how you can get some relief from how you feel about living in a corrupt society where they take your money, call themselves your servant, and then tell you what the fuck to do.
Yep.
Oh my God. You want some relief from that? Start agitating. Start educating and start agitating, and you'll feel a little bit better. And like I say, track your progress over a year. You'll feel a lot better. Realize you are not alone, and join with other people and network and use the internet. And man, we can do this. We can have a world where we have actual public servants who care about their role in protecting individuals. They will be limited, accountable, transparent, and we'll have a much better cannabis-based life than this alcohol and fear-based life.
We still have a big fight ahead of us.
A big fight ahead of us.
A huge fight.
We really
You
can't.
gotta stand strong. Know your rights.
Yeah. Nothing better to do. Nobody's got anything better to do. Even if you're raising a family, you can make a phone call here and there anonymously. That's what I did.
Write letters.
I came to that conclusion.
There's lots of people online that write letters and say, take my name out, put your name in.
That's right.
You know, so if some people can't put it down, take that letter and do it.
You know, because I was that guy that maybe some of you people out there are, where you've got a family or you've got things to care about and you've got stuff to lose. But what I did back in those days is I did do things but I just didn't put my name to it. I called anonymously into open line radio shows. I'd make signs and put them up for rush hour traffic saying, jail the gas conspirators. You know, the things that you can do that don't threaten your family by putting your face and name there, but you can still do things. And it's sometimes even cooler to do things from an anonymous point of view. So do things. Help us. Help everybody. Help the future generations. Most of all, let's stick it to these assholes who just want your money and your time. Like, you know, that's the biggest thing for me. I don't really care, you know, if I'm doing good on that end. I just don't want these people doing good on their end when they're doing it the way they're doing it. Those guys need to be stopped from doing that.
Killing people.
They don't care about it. That's true.
They don't care.
Well, thank you, Mary. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for everything, and it's been a whole bunch that you've helped us with just in the short time that you've been here. I really look forward to how we're going to do things in the future
Yeah, it's
as
gonna
we
be
track
awesome.
our next year
Yeah.
and see what little things individuals can do.
Yeah.
So very cool. Have as much fun as you can, and we'll see you very shortly, I'm sure.
Okay, thanks.
Help me out. There we go. It's just 4:19, but I think that's only for a few more seconds. So all poised and ready. You can light them during the anthem. Oh, cannabis, the sacred plant of peace, with healing power, it helps our disease. We make the point that the truth we criticize the war against our family, our favorite dream. Oh, cannabis, the drug war's a bust. Oh, cannabis, we stand here high and proud for thee. Oh, cannabis, the sacred plant of peace. Hey, thank you very much, ladies, if you haven't already. And I really appreciate all you people coming out here and making this event a success. It's unorganized, but it's organized love and beauty all the way through. Thank you all, and stay sane and stay safe.
It was a fun gathering at the park for sure. A beautiful sunny day, much unlike Cannabis Day, which was rainy and cold. But there was, as you saw, you know, up to a dozen vendors, all kinds of really good cannabis things available for people, good medical cannabis products available, edibles and the rest of it. And we just had a little bit of fun there. Not as big an event as it would have been if COVID wasn't a thing, and we organized it and promoted it, you know, as it probably should have been. So next year it'll probably come back with a vengeance and be much, much better. But still, everybody had a great time. Lots of people got together and felt the love. So happy about all of that. Let's see, coming up on the show, you know, we're still going to stand here no matter what happens and help people because we can't stop doing that. I'm not sure how we would do it. Go back to the sidewalk in front here, maybe go back to the sidewalk somewhere else appropriate. I hope we don't have to do that. But we're going to continue to help people and continue to fight the good fight to bring back proper, reasonable, low barrier access to cannabis in all of its forms. And I want to do a shout out to, well, Glenn for the video, but you know, everybody that's helped us here, for all of our volunteers, for Andrew and George and Jen and the people that are working here, to Neil who comes and helps me do a show for almost a full year now. We've been doing this, and so many people that donate to our program that there's just way too many to start mentioning them. The list of people who have helped bring this project, this group of people, to where we are, and I think where we are is poised to successfully bring back medical cannabis dispensaries in a much better way than they ever were before. I don't think they can deny us the right to do this. I think that we're going to get it done. And I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that's helped us in any way over all these years of fighting for this. And it goes back a very long way. As Mary pointed out, we are all one big happy family, not necessarily always happy, in some ways like families, but we're a family and we all care about similar goals, and that's freedom for all of us to be who we want to be and do what we want to be if we're not hurting other people. And so I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody out there that's helping to get this done. It's very important that we get it done. Other shows that Pot TV has, or other ways that you can get involved and get educated and start agitating. We have Carly Marley and BC Bud Gal on Mondays with the 420 Lifestyle Show. We have my show on Tuesdays, Truth, Hope, and Change. We have Greg Williams doing From Under the Influence, longest running show on Pot TV, and one of the most interesting and insightful looks at what's going on in the world. We have How's It Growing with Johnny B on Fridays. And that is the right name, isn't it? I think I got it now, Johnny. How's It Growing is a great show where you're watching him produce fine quality medical cannabis right from seed and all the tricks along the way. It's a great show. Watch that. We're still waiting for High Noon to come back and the COVID thing to end. Boy, that would be sure nice, man. We're getting real tired of this. And when we watch around the world what's going on, it looks like no end in sight anytime soon. And even this where we are here is not going to be much different for a long time either. So anyway, all that's going on. There was also one more. There's Morning Glory with BC Bud Gal on Thursdays at some random time in the morning there. Whenever you get up, turn it on, she might be there. And just all of these are ways to, educate and agitate, but at the same time, you always want to make sure that you're just having as much fun as you can. See you next week.